Dear student, now we are starting the learning of pharmacology. And at the outset, we are starting with the topic of pharmacokinetic. Before starting the topic of pharmacokinetic, let me tell you that the initial few topics like route of drug administration, sources of drug information, and few definitions that are important in pharmacology, you have to read on your own from your textbook. As we have discussed and communicated to you well advanced in time, the textbook are the book by K.D. Tripathi and by Sharma and Sharma, and you may also prefer Kardzang. So we are starting with the topic now with the pharmacokinetics. These are few of the definition you will read from your book, from your textbook: pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamics. Suppose you are taking a drug through oral route, you are taking a tablet or capsule, you are ingesting it, you have swallowed it. Through esophagus, first it will enter in the stomach, and from stomach it will pass in small duodenum, then small intestine, then large intestine, and last it will be excreted out of the body. So how it will show its action in body? When you take it through mouth, it will go to the stomach and then intestine. First it will be absorbed. In majority of the drug, the major site of absorption is intestine, not the stomach. And from stomach it is absorbed, and through blood circulation it will reach, as it is clear in the diagram, it will reach in the blood circulation, and from the blood circulation it will reach to its site of action, that is a target site. And in the blood, the drug remains in the two form: either it is bound to the proteins or not bound to the protein. The fraction that is bound to the protein, this part is available to cross the biological membrane, and it will enter in the target site, that is its site of action. And after entering into the site of action, that is the target site, it will show its action. The bound and unbound form, the bound that is bound to the plasma protein, and the other part, that is fraction, is not unbound to plasma protein, it remains in equilibrium. That will be discussed later on. And after entering into the site of action, the drug will show its action, its effect. So when the drug has shown its effect, now the drug is no longer required, so there is need to excrete out of this drug. So to make the drug excretion friendly, the drug is biotransformed, it is metabolized. So the metabolism process makes the drug excretion more easy. And the last process is excretion, as you know, through which the drug is excreted out. So these are the different processes through which the drug is passed, it is processed. So first part is absorption, through which the drug is taken in the blood circulation. Second step is distribution, through which the drug is taken to the site of action. Third step is metabolism, also called as biotransformation. Through this step, the drug is made excretion friendly so that it can be excreted out easily. And the fourth and last step is excretion. Through this process, the drug is excreted out of the body. So these all the four steps are collectively known as pharmacokinetics. As you know, kinetics means movement. These are the different movement through which the drug is passed inside the body. Pharma means drug and kinetics means movement. So pharmacokinetics involve the different steps of movement of drug inside the body. First it is absorbed, then absorbed in the blood circulation, then it is distributed in tissues, then it is metabolized, and finally it is excreted out of the body. So these are the four steps: ADME: absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion. These are the four steps in pharmacokinetics that we study in this chapter. Okay. And today we will discuss absorption, that is the first step. And before absorption, because what is the absorption? Absorption is the process through which the drugs comes in the blood circulation. Okay. So before absorption, the drug passes through the process of biotransport. How the drug is biotransported, so which it is absorbed. There are different processes of transport mechanism. First one is simple or passive diffusion. Second is facilitated diffusion. Third is active transport. Fourth is pinocytosis and phagocytosis. And fifth one is filtration. First one is simple and passive diffusion, and second one is facilitated diffusion. When you read the word diffusion means these are the types of transport mechanism in which energy is not involved. ATP are not consumed, because these are the simple diffusion, and facilitated diffusion because the movement of the drug molecule is along the concentration gradient. Solute moves from the high concentration to low concentration. So obviously there is no energy consumed in the diffusion process. It is automatically driven process without any consumption of energy, without any consumption of ATP. So diffusion means no energy consumed. So what is the difference between the simple diffusion and facilitated diffusion? In facilitated diffusion, the carrier molecule is required. There is a carrier molecule which transport the drug or the solute from the high concentration to low concentration medium. While in simple or passive diffusion, no such type of molecule is needed. This is the difference between the simple diffusion and facilitated diffusion. Third type of transportation is active transport. When we say the transport is active, means you are actively transporting the solute. Actively means energy has to be consumed. ATP are consumed in the active transport. While in diffusion, no energy is involved. This active transport is of two types. First one is primary active transport and second type is secondary active transport. Primary active transport means directly ATP are consumed in the primary active transport. While in secondary active transport, in which direct consumption of ATP is not there. Transportation of one molecule, listen carefully, transportation of one molecule provides energy for transportation of another molecule. This is the secondary active transport. Energy is consumed, but this energy is provided by transportation of one type of molecule or one type of solute. If both of the transportation are along the same direction, this is symport. Symport means sim means together, साथ साथ. If both of the molecule, both of the solute, both of the drug are going towards the same direction, and transportation of one drug or one solute is providing energy or providing ATP for the transportation of other solute, this is symport. And what is antiport? Anti means reverse, opposite. Transportation of one solute is providing ATP, providing energy to the transportation for the another molecule, but the transportation of both of the solute are in reverse direction. This is antiport. So this is secondary active transport. The less commonly transport mechanism are pinocytosis, phagocytosis and filtration. You can read from your textbook. So this is the table that showing the difference between the simple diffusion, facilitated diffusion and active transport. You can see in this table, in diffusion, whether it is simple diffusion or facilitated diffusion, energy expenditure is nil, while active transport, energy expenditure is present. Why the energy is not consumed in any type of diffusion? Because the flow of solute is along the concentration gradient in simple diffusion and facilitated diffusion, while the flow of solute is against the concentration gradient in active transport. Need of carrier molecule is present in facilitated diffusion and active transport. Most of the drugs are transported through simple diffusion, while glucose entry in muscle and fat cell through the receptor GLUT4 is facilitated diffusion. And the facilitated diffusion is another example is vitamin B12 absorption in gut with intrinsic factor. Example of transportation through active transport is sympathomimetic amines by neural tissue, choline by cholinergic neurons. So these are the table showing the difference between the three terms: simple diffusion, facilitated diffusion and active transport. As the most of the drugs are transported through simple diffusion, so we will discuss in detail simple or passive diffusion. It depends upon three factors. Very important topic it is, and the questions are very frequently asked through this slide. Simple diffusion is dependent upon three factors. First one is ionization of drug. Ionization of drug. It's very important when the drug molecule remains in ionized form. This ionized form cannot cross the blood. The ionized form cannot cross the biological membrane easily. So ionized form of drug is poorly absorbed. On the other hand, unionized form of the drug can cross the biological membrane easily. This can be explained by one example with the drug of aspirin. Aspirin is the slightly acidic drug. Its chemical name is acetyl salicylic acid. When it is taken, it reaches in the stomach, gastric lumen. Then the pH medium of the gastric lumen is acidic, you know very well, and the pH of the acetyl salicylic acid or aspirin is also acidic. So aspirin is acidic and the surrounding medium is also acidic. So it remains in the unionized form in gastric lumen. It remains in unionized form in gastric lumen. So it can cross biological membrane easily. After crossing the biological membrane easily, it reaches in the gastric parietal cell. Gastric cell. It reaches from the gastric lumen to gastric parietal cell. Now the pH of the gastric parietal cell is not as acidic as gastric cell. So it ionizes. Now in the gastric parietal cell, aspirin drug molecule gets ionized. When the aspirin drug ionized, so it cannot cross the biological membrane. It is trapped inside the gastric parietal cell. And this ionized molecule of aspirin are gastrotoxic drug and they cause irritation. And this phenomena is called as ion trapping of salicylate. Because of this, you might have noticed that after taking the aspirin, if it is taken empty stomach especially, it causes irritation of gastric cell. It causes gastric acidity. Second factor which affects the simple or passive diffusion is lipid or water coefficient. The drug which is more lipid soluble has more absorption. Third one, that is pH of the drug. As we have discussed in the case of aspirin, the drug aspirin is slightly acidic drug. It is better absorbed in the acidic medium stomach, because in the acidic medium it remains in the unionized form. Similarly, slightly basic drugs are better absorbed in slightly basic medium, because in basic medium basic drug remains unionized, and unionized form of the drug can cross the biological membrane more easily. So acidic drugs, slightly acidic drugs are better absorbed in acidic media, that is stomach, and slightly basic drugs are better absorbed in basic media, that is intestine. This is very important point to be considered. So what is the clinical significance of this concept, pH of the drug? This concept can be exploited in the poisoning of basic drug and acidic drug. For example, the patient has ingested aspirin, and aspirin, you know, it is slightly acidic drug. What happens now? Aspirin is a slightly acidic drug. It is absorbed, and after absorption, distribution, metabolism process, it finally comes in the process of elimination or excretion. It comes in the nephron as the ultrafiltrate. As you know, there are the three processes in the nephron. First is the ultrafiltration, second is absorption, and third is the secretion. Most of the part of the solute is reabsorbed back through the process of reabsorption. Suppose aspirin molecule has ultrafiltrate in the nephron, but through the process of reabsorption they will be reabsorbed, and patient has taken the high dose of aspirin. Patient has taken high dose of aspirin, and now you want this aspirin should be excreted out from the urine. So what do you want in that condition? In the case of aspirin toxicity, you want aspirin should be excreted out at a faster rate from the body through urine. So what do you want? You want this aspirin should not be reabsorbed back so that it can be excreted out at a faster rate. So you want the aspirin should not be reabsorbed back. So to hamper the reabsorption of aspirin in this condition, you want ionization of aspirin molecule. And aspirin molecule is acidic, so you will make the urine basic. If you make the urine basic, the aspirin molecule is acidic, the aspirin molecule will ionize and it cannot cross the biological membrane, that is nephron in this case. It will not cross, so it will not be reabsorbed and it will take out through the process of urination. So in the case of toxicity in the acidic drug poisoning, you will make the urine basic with the drugs available in market like sodium bicarbonate. Similarly, if the poisoning occurs of the basic drug, you will make the urine acidic. So in the acidic drug, the basic drug will ionized, so it will not cross the biological membrane, it will not cross the nephron, so reabsorption process will be hampered and this basic drug will be excreted out in the urine at a faster rate. The urine can be acidified with the ammonium chloride drug. So this is the very practical example you can use with this concept. Now you will have to memorize, you have to remember the few examples of acidic drug and few examples of basic drug. Acidic drug example is aspirin. It is also called as acetyl salicylic acid. Other drug is phenytoin. It is an anti-epileptic drug. Penicillin. It is an antibiotic, antimicrobial drug. Sulfonamide group of antimicrobial. They are also acidic. And warfarin. Warfarin you have read in biochemistry and physiology. It is oral anticoagulant drug. These drugs are acidic in nature. And the poisoning, in the treatment of poisoning of these drugs, urine are alkalinized. Few of the basic drugs you have to remember. Morphine is the leading example. Atropine is the anticholinergic drug. Amphetamine and chloroquine. Chloroquine is the anti-malarial drug very commonly used in treatment of malaria. These are the basic drugs. As we have discussed in the first session, slightly acidic drugs are more absorbed in acidic medium and slightly basic drugs are more absorbed in basic medium. Because in that type of medium they are ionized less and unionized drugs are better absorbed than ionized counterpart of the drug. When the drug is taken through oral route, first it reaches in the oral cavity, then through esophagus it reaches in stomach, and then in small intestine and large intestine. As we know, stomach offers the acidic pH, so obviously slightly acidic drug like aspirin, phenobarbital, phenytoin are better absorbed in stomach as compared to the site that offers basic pH. Small intestine offer the basic pH, so it is quite obvious that the drugs with basic pH like morphine, atropine, amphetamine, chloroquine are better absorbed in small intestine as compared to site of acidic pH, that is stomach. But this point is consider worthy that pH is not only the single parameter that decide the way where the absorption of the drug will be higher. If we consider only the one parameter, that is the pH of the site, so slightly acidic drug will be better absorbed in stomach. But apart from pH, the surface area is also the important to decide the better absorption site. So small intestine has the better small intestine has large surface area. So, and because of the large surface area, small intestine is always the important site as compared to stomach for acidic drug as well as for basic drug. When the drug, this is all about what we have discussed for absorption of the drug when the drug has to be taken through oral route. When the drug is taken through injection route, parenteral site, intravenous is the route of administration which offers the best absorption, because when we take the drug through intravenous route, the drug reached in blood circulation directly. So this is the route of administration which gives the highest absorption. As compared to intravenous, intramuscular route of administration gives the less absorption. When the drug is given in the intramuscular site, either through deltoid region or in triceps, this drug is deposited in muscles, deep muscles, and because these deep muscles are richly supplied by veins and arteries, they are absorbed. But this absorption is not better than intravenous site. And subcutaneous site absorption is less as compared to intramuscular site. And in the condition of circulatory failure, blood supply is less. So when the blood supply is less, absorption is also reduced. Few of the general anesthetic agents like halothane, sevoflurane, isoflurane, and few of the anti-asthmatic drugs like bronchodilator, salbutamol, terbutaline are given through inhalational route. So these drugs, when they are given through inhalational route, are directly delivered in the lungs, and their lung vasculature is directly exposed, and so large surface, because of large surface area and because of the high vascularity of the parenchymal tissues, absorption is rapid and first pass metabolism is avoided. And what is first pass metabolism we will discuss later on, but in this case we can understand first pass metabolism is, these are the mechanism which prevent the drug to enter in the blood circulation. When the drug are taken through oral route, they reach in the gastric cavity or intestinal lumen. So when they reach in the intestinal lumen, to reach in the blood circulation from intestinal lumen, they are first metabolized in the intestinal cell and they are metabolized by intestinal enzyme. So these procedures, these barriers are called as first pass metabolism. That means to enter in the blood circulation, some part of the drug are metabolized, and these procedures, these mechanisms, including the enzymes which are contained in the intestinal cell or intestinal lumen, are called collectively as first pass metabolism. When the drug given topically, they are applied on the skin or mucous membrane like hyoscine. Hyoscine you have been read in physiology or maybe in your school level. Hyoscine patch are applied on the pinna for prevention of motion sickness. So the drug is applied as a transdermal patch. From the transdermal patch that is applied behind the pinna, this drug hyoscine is released at a slower rate continuously, so that the motion sickness is prevented when the patient is going in the hilly area. So this is example of the absorption via topical site. And when the eye drop or nasal drop is applied in the respective cavity, in ocular cavity or nasal cavity, drug is also absorbed from there. These are the local site or topical site. For example, vasopressin nasal spray is applied. Vasopressin is another name for ADH, antidiuretic hormone. It is given in the form of nasal spray, and from nasal mucosa it is absorbed. Ophthalmic drugs like timolol is given in ocular cavity. Timolol is the drug used in treatment of glaucoma. These drugs are given in the ocular cavity. There are some method through applying absorption can be delayed, and there are some advantages which are offered by delaying the absorption. For example, if the patient is suffering from the severe osteoarthritis, he or she has to take analgesic drug, painkiller drug, for example, diclofenac. 2 or 3 times in a day, 3 or 4 times in a day, he has to take to relieve pain. So in that condition, what we do, we formulate, we develop such type of diclofenac drug, such type that is released slowly, that is absorbed slowly. So now when the diclofenac drug has to be taken 4 times in a day to relieve the pain, now because of the slow absorption, now the diclofenac drug has to be taken 2 times in a day. So the frequency of administration of drug can be reduced if we slow down the absorption. This is the advantage. And this diclofenac sodium tablet is known as diclofenac sustained release tablet. Diclofenac is released at a sustained rate, at a slower rate. Okay, so dosage form is altered. We can also change the physical characteristic of drug. For example, insulin. With insulin, zinc is added. So insulin zinc suspension is prepared. Physical characteristic. Now this insulin is not released at a faster rate. This insulin zinc preparation is released in blood circulation at a slower rate. So the frequency of insulin administration in the diabetic patient can be reduced. Another method through which we can delay the absorption, we can combine epinephrine with lignocaine. Lignocaine is the local anesthetic agent, and epinephrine is a vasoconstrictor. When we combine lignocaine with epinephrine, what happens? Lignocaine is applied subcutaneously for local anesthetic action. We want local anesthesia with lignocaine, and we do not want this lignocaine should be spread to the other tissues, because we want lignocaine action on that local tissue only. When the lignocaine is combined with epinephrine, because it is a vasoconstrictor agent, it causes vasoconstrictor of the local area. So lignocaine can't be diffused in the nearby tissues. So lignocaine remain constrained in that area only in which it is applied, because its absorption is reduced in the nearby tissue because of epinephrine. So the toxicity of lignocaine is also reduced because it is not passed in the nearby tissue. These are the advantages why the epinephrine is combined with lignocaine. And this question is very frequently asked in your exam. What are the other factors which alter the absorption? One factor is gastric emptying. As we have discussed, the major site of absorption is small intestine. When the drug is taken through oral cavity, it reaches in mouth, then through esophagus in stomach, then it passes in the small intestine, and because of the large surface area, major site of absorption is intestine, not the stomach. Whether it is acidic drug or basic drug doesn't matter. So the factor which increases gastric emptying increases absorption, because when the stomach is emptied fast, when the content of stomach are emptied at a rapid rate, the food content reaches small intestine at a faster rate, and because small intestine is the major site of absorption, so absorption is better when the food reaches in the small intestine at a faster rate. So factor which increases gastric emptying causes increased absorption, like fasting, anxiety, hyperthyroid, metoclopramide, and lying on right side. Metoclopramide is the drug which is the gastric emptying agent. It increases the intestinal motility. It increases the gastric motility, and because the gastric motility is increased, food reaches in the small intestine at a faster rate and increases absorption. On the other hand, there are few drugs which slows down the gastric activity, like atropine, and some other factors which decreases absorption, like fatty diet, depression, hypothyroid. These are the factors which decreases gastric emptying, and because of the decreased gastric emptying, absorption is also slowed. Pyloric stenosis, in which the obstruction in the pyloric antrum is there, so food cannot enter in the small intestine from stomach because of the obstruction in the pyloric stenosis. It also decreases gastric emptying. In the few of the gastrointestinal disease, absorption is delayed, like celiac disease, which hamper the fat absorption, Crohn's disease, gastroenteritis, which decreases the absorption. First pass metabolism, as we have discussed, this is the drug degradation occurring before the drug enters the system circulation. When the drug is taken through oral cavity, the drug reaches in the intestine. It has reached in the intestinal lumen, and the enzymes that are present in the intestinal lumen degrade. They metabolize drug. They degrade the drug, and when the drug reaches in the intestinal cell, it is also metabolized there, and because of the blood circulation, the drug is also metabolized in liver. So these are the site where the drug is metabolized before reaching in the blood circulation, before reaching in the systemic circulation. This is called as first pass metabolism, and because of the high first pass metabolism, absorption is less, so bioavailability is also reduced. The drug which has high first pass metabolism is levodopa. Levodopa is metabolized by various enzymes like dopa decarboxylase, and because of the action of these drugs, the levodopa has less bioavailability. Nitroglycerin is also example of high first pass metabolism. That's why, to reduce the high first pass metabolism, nitroglycerin is given as a sublingual tablet. The drug is placed beneath the tongue. From there, it is directly absorbed in the blood circulation. Propranolol also has the high first pass metabolism. There are some factors. Food drug interaction also reduces the absorption. For example, tetracycline. Tetracycline is an antimicrobial drug. When it is taken, it reaches in the intestine, and in intestine it form covalent bond with milk product, and because of formed combination With milk product, tetracycline is absorbed less because of this food drug interaction. Similarly, griseofulvin, that is an antifungal drug, it makes combination with fatty meal, because of which its absorption is also altered. The same drug-drug interaction is found between liquid paraffin and fat-soluble vitamin, and antacid and tetracycline. So now we will discuss the bioavailability. What is bioavailability? Bioavailability is the fraction of administered drug that reaches the systemic circulation. Okay. So whatever the amount you have taken through oral route, some amount is metabolized and the remaining amount reaches in the systemic circulation. This fraction is called as bioavailability. So bioavailability is quantity of drug reaching systemic circulation divided by quantity of drug administered. It may depend upon route by which the drug is administered. It depends upon the route on which the drug is administered. For example, nitroglycerin tablet. When the nitroglycerin tablet is taken through oral route, it is metabolized in the gastric lumen. So in this route of administration, their bioavailability is very less because of high first pass metabolism. In the second route of administration, it is given through sublingual route. In this route of administration, nitroglycerin tablet is placed beneath the tongue, from which it is directly absorbed in the blood circulation. So in this condition, in this route of administration, the bioavailability is high. So we can see bioavailability depends upon the route of administration. It is also depend upon the chemical form of the drug. As we have discussed, diclofenac, when it is devised on the sustained release form, it is slowly absorbed. So bioavailability is less and it is sustained for prolonged time. And it depend upon also on the patient specific factor, as we have discussed, like gastrointestinal disease, the status of hepatic transporter and enzyme, the rate and extent of absorption of a drug. When the drug is taken, it is administered through intravenous route, it reaches directly in the blood circulation. So bioavailability in that condition is 100%. Okay, but in other route it is less than 100% because before reaching the blood circulation it is metabolized. So it is less than 100%. It is determined by the concentration time curve in blood. When we draw a curve on the x-axis, there is time, and on the y-axis there is concentration. With the given time, we draw a curve with the drug concentration and on the time. We can determine the bioavailability of the drug. So this is all about absorption and bioavailability. Go through from your textbook and we will discuss distribution in our next session. Okay, thank you.